If you think about it, interviewing for a job is a lot like going on a first date, and it can certainly feel as awkward as one. What do I mean by that? Well, stick around because in this video, I'm going to break it down. Hey everybody, it's Brian from A Life After Layoff, and today I want to break down why interviewing feels a lot like going on an awkward first date. Now, this is something I've been thinking about for quite a while as a recruiter. Going through these interviews, you kind of present yourself the same way you would in a date, especially an awkward one. But don't worry, I'm not here to give you dating advice, but I am going to give you a little bit of perspective that you might be able to parlay into better success in your job interviews. And for the purpose of this video, I'm going to cover some of the aspects of dating and how it relates to jobs. So let's get right into it. But before we get too far into it, if you're interested in more career-related content just like this directly from a corporate recruiter, maybe hit that subscribe button. In the job world, just like in the dating world, there are different parties who are trying to pair up with the right fits. And maybe in the case of the dating world, you would create a profile on one of the latest dating sites and you would put a nice profile picture up there, probably a little about me section. You would probably want to talk yourself up a little bit and make sure that you didn't come across as awkward, long-winded, etc., etc. And so the parallel to that is our LinkedIn profile. And just like a dating profile, if you don't put any effort into your profile, you're not searchable or discoverable. Recruiters won't be able to find you. And even if you are found and you don't have anything interesting on your profile to sell yourself with, a recruiter's probably not going to find intrigue in you as well and hit that submit button. So on some level, we want to be talking ourselves up and making ourselves look as good as possible to the public world, because that LinkedIn profile is so critical to getting noticed by those recruiters. And let's face it, there's a lot of competition. You might have a perfectly smiley face, but so does everybody else. And so you have to compete very favorably amongst your peers in order to have a realistic shot at those top quality jobs. Same thing goes in the dating market. If you're trying to go after the most attractive partners, you have to bring the goods yourself, and you can't realistically expect to attract somebody when you put no effort into your own. So if your online game is pretty weak, you may want to spend some time really updating that LinkedIn profile and getting it to sparkle so that you can catch the attention of the big fish that you want to. And if you're not sure how to do that, I do have a course called Unlocking LinkedIn, which will teach you how to make yourself shine online, especially for those recruiters on LinkedIn. It does not have any dating tips though, so I can't promise that it's going to help with your love life. And while we're trying to make ourselves as attractive as possible to the outside world, we may find an option. And in the dating world, you might find a match that you're intrigued by and you want to attract. And maybe you do a little knock knock. In this case with LinkedIn, it would be going and applying for that job. And we want to make sure that our resume is as attractive as possible. Probably going to make sure that it really emphasizes our strengths and de-emphasizes the things that are not so desirable about our backgrounds. Just like a dating profile or trying to get somebody's attention, you're probably going to have a quick one-liner or some tidy package that hopefully gets them to bite on your profile, or hopefully get them to talk to you at the bar or however you meet your potential partners. Got to have our front-facing game on point and polished. So you have to have that resume that's going to attract the right person, because you can catch their attention. But if they look at your profile and they go, I'm not interested, then you're going to be a pretty lonely person. So saying how you have gotten the attention of the employer and they're willing to at least entertain or hear you out, go on that first date, you then have to know how to keep the conversation going. And it shouldn't be awkward, because if you've ever been on a date like this, you can probably relate. There's one person who's asking question after question, doesn't really know how to get into a good conversation. And it does feel like an interview. And in a romantic setting, that's the kiss of death. Nobody wants to feel like they're getting grilled without any two-way dialogue and having it flow. And the same thing goes in interviewing. It shouldn't just be the recruiter or the hiring manager asking you a question, you responding, then asking you a question, you responding. The flow isn't there. You haven't caught in the vibes. You're not in that groove. And it's going to be hard to impress somebody when it's a one-way dialogue. And when I met my wife, it was instantaneous attraction. There was no awkwardness about it. We hit it off and it was like time melted away. In fact, our very first date ended up lasting 8 hours. And it was absolutely effortless. And a job interview should be the same way. When you're really connecting and vibing with the hiring manager or the interviewer, it should be easy and relaxed. You shouldn't be feeling nervous, because the conversation should be flowing. And that's the goal. If you can get your interviews to that level, your success rates will be way higher. It's kind of like in the dating world, we talk about having game. It's the same thing in the interview world. You have game. You can volley back and forth. You can keep conversations going. It's nice and flowing. It doesn't feel like you're being interviewed. It feels like you're having a conversation about the job. That's absolutely what you should be striving for. And here's another thing that I've learned is that you've got to kiss a lot of frogs, so to speak, in order to find the right opportunity. And obviously that's an old kind of cliche saying in the dating world, but the same thing goes for the job search process. Not every opportunity is going to be a great fit for you. Sometimes you're not going to be a great fit for them, and you really need to make sure that you're finding something that feels right and fits your career, because the option or the partner might look very attractive on paper and maybe even in person preliminarily, but as you start to get behind the scenes, you might start to discover something that doesn't quite sit right with you. And you got to trust your gut. And taking it a step further is, even though you may be in love with the partner or the option that you're interviewing for or dating, you might not be their cup of tea, and that could be pretty painful, especially if you've really fallen in love with them. But the thing is, it has to be a two-way mutual fit, and it's not always the case when only one person is really interested in it. And at the end of the day, it's okay. And in fact, it's probably better to get that flushed out in the interview or the early in the dating process, because you don't want to be into a much more serious relationship, quote unquote, and find that the person is just not the right fit and something doesn't feel right. It can be a lot more devastating at that point in time. Just like in dating, you always keep dating until you find the right person. Same thing goes for in the job. You always keep on applying until you find the right opportunity for you, the one that feels right. And you'll know it when you see it. Now, of course, when you show up for your first date, you're going to want to dress to impress. You're going to maybe get your hair cut, clean up a little bit, put on your best clothes, maybe put a little bit of perfume or cologne on, and you want to try to impress the person that you're meeting. Same thing goes with the interview. You're dressing to impress. You're probably wearing something or presenting yourself in a way that you wouldn't do in your normal day-to-day. Let's face it, it's an artificial facade that you put up for the sake of getting matched with the right opportunity. So you want to make sure that you're dressed for success. Just like when you walk into a date and you're dressed slobby, the person who you're trying to date is going to judge you based on how you present yourself. Same thing goes with an employer. They will judge based on how you present yourself. And it goes beyond just even dress. It's how you carry yourself, how you hold your frame, how you shake hands, how you make eye contact. All of those things kind of play a part in, do you convey a sense of confidence? Because a romantic partner wants somebody who's confident in themselves. That's kind of universal. I don't think anybody is attracted to somebody that's not confident. Same thing goes in the job process. They look for confidence. Hiring managers want to know that you are confident in your ability to do the job, that you're confident in your ability to talk about your successes and how you would be a great fit for that job. You have to be able to sell yourself in both settings. And if you can't, it's something that you need to learn how to do. And let's face it, the nature of interviewing and the nature of dating is there is a song and a dance that you are playing to, and you have to play the game. And yes, it can be annoying, but there is a degree of strategy to the things that you say, the way that you say them, and when you say them. Because if you say the wrong thing at the wrong time, you could turn that other person off. And once you turn that person off, it's really hard to get them excited about you again. So it behooves you, if you want to have a good dating life, to learn to play the game. The same thing goes for interviewing. You have to learn how to play the game, whether you like it or not. Because if you refuse to play the game, because I know a lot of people in the comments say, well, I refuse to play this game, I'm not going to do it. Well, that's fine, but you're not going to get the job. So if you want the job, you've got to play the game on some level. And it's not like there's some manual there that they say, okay, now we play the game. But the hiring manager is expecting a certain thing, and it's personalities. You're not talking about, there's not this like litmus test that you take and they just check off boxes. I mean, I guess on some level the job description, but the job description is only a part of it. The other bigger component is the personality of the person. How well they sell themselves. What's the confidence that they have in themselves? Are they the best fit for not only that job, but for the department as a whole and for the manager's leadership style? You may just rub them the wrong way, or they may rub you the wrong way. So it goes both ways in this regard. Same thing goes for dating. You could go into the first date, you could see the person, you could think that they look really good, and you could be really interested in them, but as soon as they open up their mouth, suddenly it's a big turnoff just by the way that they carry themselves. And learning how to present yourself in the most effective way at the right times is an absolutely critical skill that not only you'll need in the dating world, also the interviewing world, but in the work world in general. It's just a skill that you should have. One of the most unfortunate and painful things in the dating world and in the job search world is when you think you have a good vibe with a person, you're really hitting it off, the conversation is flowing, and you feel like there's a great match, You go home all excited, ready for a second date with that person or ready for that second interview, and unexpectedly you get a rejection and it catches you off guard and you wonder what you said wrong and what you did wrong. And it may have just been they did actually vibe with you and liked you, but they may have met somebody else right after that that they vibed with even closer. And I know that can be painful and I know that can be very difficult to accept, but it happens all the time. And just like you may meet somebody else too, if you're fortunate enough to have more than one job offer that's very intriguing and you're really weighing the pros and the cons, it can be a difficult process to make a decision. Of course, I'd be remiss if I didn't bring up ghosting in the dating world and in the job search world, because it's probably the two most common areas in your life that you're going to get ghosted. And to the guys who are out there watching this in the dating world, we know how common ghosting is. Unfortunately, I wish I could say that in the interview world, it wasn't common, but it is. And it's just an unfortunate part of the process that you've got to deal with. I made another video on why employers ghost. You can go and check that out if you want a little bit more insight. There's no good excuse for it. It is what it is. But at the end of the day, we have to act like free agents. We have to continue to look out for what's best for ourselves and not worry about any one employer, and just keep on plowing away, keep on applying, keep on overturning those rocks, keep on picking up the toads, and eventually you'll find the right fit. And I can speak with authority on this one. You find the right one, you will instantly know. And I feel extremely fortunate to have found my person. So if you're somebody that's in the job search world and you're looking for a little bit more help, it's actually something that I specialize in. I've got a website called alifeafterlayoff.com. It's loaded with tips and tricks, all from an insider's perspective on how to get you back to work as quickly as possible. And I offer my deepest and most intimate knowledge, no pun intended, in the form of some training courses. The first one is called Resume Rocketfuel. It's designed to teach you how to write a resume that's going to give you the best chance of getting noticed by those recruiters for that first round interview. And not only that, it's going to teach you how to use your resume as a strategic document. And it's really so much more than just how to write a resume. And once you get that interview, it's up to you to sell yourself throughout the rest of the interviewing process. And that's where the Ultimate Job Seeker Bootcamp comes in. It's really cradle to grave, from job search all the way through offer negotiation. It's the most robust course that I have, taking you through the entirety of a major corporation's hiring processes. So if you're somebody that wants the deepest and most strategic knowledge on the whole hiring process, make sure you check that one out. And if you're somebody that's got an interview coming up shortly and you need to ace it, check out the 48-hour interview crash course, because it's a very targeted and consolidated course that's going to get you ready for just about any major interview you could face. And of course, you want to put your best face forward. We already talked about unlocking LinkedIn, so check that one out if you need a little help there. But if you need dating help, my wife has not so gently reminded me that I'm not the authority in that space. So you probably have to look elsewhere for that. Hey, appreciate you watching. Happy dating and job search, and we'll see you on the next one.